Dan, could the season have started any better?
No, 2 wins, so we'll take that. Um, Happy with the rolling on from last season to now. Have to admit, happy with that clearly, but building on the momentum from last season, showing some good signs of improvement. Happy with the fact that they've picked up from where they left off, and we've won 2 games. Our first game against the Dogs, against a really strong team historically. So I was happy to see the growth in the group around the way they played our brand of footy, and then going into Sydney, who are much improved, and weathering the storm of their improvement. And they pushed us for a period of that middle block of the game, and we responded and won comfortably, but still obviously we'd like to do better for longer. But yeah, very happy with the overall progressing.
Like about wanting to score more this year, you've achieved that. Can you put that down to something specific that's been enabled you to have that, more time inside forward 50, but also then converting once you're in there?
Yeah, we just thought we were getting a lot of looks last season from our midfield group. A lot of inside 50, forward half time possession, those really strong numerical numbers that suggest that we're playing the game in the right part of the ground, but we just weren't getting the score on the board. And it was a part of our plan over a period of strengthening our defence and our midfield, and we just hadn't reached our forward half yet in regards to the cohesion piece. So a lot of our pre-season was around planning and getting our tactics right around our front half players, bringing Kate Sermon to add some firepower there. Obviously, Ashley Maloney has given us a different look as well, to support Jackie Parry and Chloe Shear and Kate Darby. And we've added, obviously, Darcy Maloney and Nina Morrison are coming through that space as well. So we think we've got some really good avenues to score. There was just getting that piece of the puzzle right, how they work together. And I think that's shown the last 2 games. We've scored, both games we've had, kicked 10 goals. We've had multiple shots on goal from different players as well. Our midfield are looking to hit the scoreboard too. So the consistency piece is there, and so far it's been pleasing to see.
Obviously, a bit of a Georgie tag last week. How'd you feel like she coped with it? Are you guys sort of talking through any sort of strategies for her to cope with it a bit differently, or how do you sort of assess that going into this week?
Yeah, it was interesting, wasn't it? We've had lots of good chats, even before this season, to be fair. There was a couple of games last season where opposition put some time into her, and it was just a learning experience for her. So, during the game, she had a great start against the Swans last week. I think she picked up 9 or 10 possessions early, and then didn't quite have the effect that she wanted with ball in hand, but she certainly had influence with her tackle pressure and her transition. So, we've had lots of good discussions this week around different strategies that she could potentially use to give herself some more freedom. But it's just a reality for her, isn't it? Like, 10 games doesn't allow you much wriggle room as an opposition to go in and think that maybe we'll do something after half time, or you need to do it from the start. So, and that's Georgie's mentality too. And all of our mids, to be fair, like last week, Georgie was well held after quarter time, but then Nina Morrison was allowed to play more freely, and Amy McDonald was the same. So we need to make sure that Georgie and our mids have the strategies in place to do it from the very start of the game, rather than trying to pull those levers after half time or when it's too late. So she's okay. It's now just a matter of reality for her and some of our players to build on. And it's a bit of a feather in their cap, to be fair, like to have so much respect from the opposition, to make sure that they're putting work into them, and maybe taking something away from their team as well by sacrificing something to put onto us. So she's okay. Our mids are okay. It'll be a really tough battle this week against a really strong midfield in North Melbourne, Garner and Riddell, just to name a few. But it'll be an interesting battle between those guys for sure.
While we're on the topic of the midfield, like you said, you touched on a couple of midfielders there on the Kangaroos side, in Garner and Riddle. Can you talk a little bit about how pivotal that battle will be between the midfielders for both sides in that one?
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. They've been together for a long period of time, those guys at North, and they've gelled really well, and they play quite instinctively together. And you just watch their handball shape and the way they drive out and instinctively move towards each other. They're very well in tuned, and they get those metres gained from stoppage with a strong ruck support as well. And it'll be interesting to see if we can nullify that. We've got our own strength in there and a lot of depth that we feel too. with Nina and Darcy Maloney now coming in providing some support. McDonald's obviously outstanding and Georgie as well. So, Garner's had a ripping start to the season, and, just to think back to round one when she kicked the goal within 20 seconds of the game against the Saints. It's like, our transition away and our pressure on the ball needs to be elite, and that's just the only word I can use for it, because it is too dangerous to let free. So it's going to be a really strong battle. They've got a number of players that can go through there as well. They've got some great tools that can rotate through the ruck, and Rennie provides some really good support for them as well. And I think that their running power, the way Riddell, I think she's leading the league in uncontested marks. So she's, they're a really nice connected group, and we just need to be making sure that our game is on from the start, and we try and nullify those opportunities. So again, our mids are starting to gel as well, but they're nowhere near the experienced group that North Melbourne are.
Obviously, the Kangaroos' defensive unit has been really impressive to start the season. Have conceded the least score so far throughout the course of the first two games. Do you sort of envisage a tough battle up forward? Obviously, Geelong's forward line is much improved this year, but how do you sort of see that one playing out?
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be a really tough battle across all parts of the ground, to be fair. We pride our team on our team defence, but also our defensive structure as well in play. Clearly watching the Kangaroos, extremely organised defensively. We had a good game against them. Well, we've had 3 good games over the last 2 seasons where the games have been decided by less than 2 goals. So what happened last time in the final was that our forwards got lost in transition, and their defence, being well organised, were just too hard to penetrate. So, we've got a few plans that we've put in place over the pre-season to try and combat that. So I'm looking forward to seeing how our forwards adjust to that organised defence behind them and challenge them to defend for longer, which all teams want to get. But that's what I'm looking forward to for this weekend. But time in forward half and metres gained from stoppage is going to be really important, so that we're playing the game longer in our front half than our back half. And it's going to ebb and flow. But if we can put scoreboard pressure on early, like we have the last two rounds, our first quarters have been really, really strong with our starts. It might put a bit of scoreboard pressure on them as well. So that's the goal. But extremely well organised defence, Kangaroos, highly respected around the way they play. It's just about how we can disorganise them is what our goal is.
And how have you seen the addition of Kate Shearlaw to their lineup, and how it's just adjusted what you saw from the elimination final last year or last season?
Yeah, just another tool in their forward line, isn't it, really? Strong marking player, quite mobile, gets up the ground, looks to reset to goal and challenge her defender. So, yeah, she's one we need to keep an eye on too, because, again, she's a threat in the air and on the ground. So just another tall player to worry about for the Kangaroos. Throw in the likes of Randall and Rennie and King when they're down there playing forward. A really strong front half, and then their ground players come into play, and that's the beauty of what Sheila and those girls can do. Like, if they're not marking and it comes to ground, they're a threat on the ground as well. So it's going to be a really tough battle. She's added some flexibility, I would have thought, with to give some of the other tools some more time resting forward or resting in the ruck, which is a luxury that most teams don't have. So, yeah, it should be one to watch on the weekend or tomorrow night. But, we've had games against her when she was playing for Security, where we thought we nullified her pretty well. So it's just another good challenge for our defence to make sure that they're switched on around that. And again, it comes back down to the midfield. If we can, get some ascendancy around stoppage, get the ball going our way, control the game on our terms, it might just take away some of their strengths in the end.
I'd just like to get, I guess, a little bit on the team's mentality going into this week specifically. So obviously you guys, last time you played against North Melbourne, it was a heartbreaking loss in the finals on your home deck. How are the girls feeling heading into this weekend or this Friday? And I guess, has that been a motivating factor for the group at all?
Oh, no, I wouldn't have thought it'd been a motivating factor for the group. Maybe for me, personally, but not for the group. It was a really sour loss last time we played them, but, they're a great team, and they made the most of their forward half entries to score goals, and we kick points. So, yeah, I think there's a bit of fire in the belly for the girls to play well and to see what we've done over pre-season, if it has an effect. I'm sure it will have some kind of positive effect. It's just a matter of how we take it on the night. But, there hasn't been any anyone walking around the club saying, this is redemption time or revenge. It's more about let's just see how our system stacks up against theirs, and that's exciting enough. And we saw some of it in round 1 and round 2, and we'll keep playing our system against every side. But I'd be lying to say to myself that I wouldn't be really keen to start well and have a win to kind of get one up on them, because we just haven't beaten them. And this is the team that I'd say there'd be a bit of a rivalry over the last couple of seasons. Close games, just haven't got over the line. So, for me, it's like it'd be nice to get one over, the Kangaroos for the first time. But I think the girls are switched on and ready to go. Yeah, Becky's just she's not too long away from a hammy, so she's going through a bit of a test at the moment. So she was a chance for this week. She's a good chance for next week if all goes well. She's back full training, so I'd expect her to be available for selection, if not this weekend, for the weekend after.
Like you did last week, or have you got tweaks that you've got to make for tomorrow night?
No, we're pretty much unchanged for now. Like there's been some discussion around just our, I suppose, how we match up with some of their forwards. But other than that, though, we've got a pretty healthy list, which is good.
Dan, we touched on the briefing before, but just with the Roos three-pronged attack, they've been looking at a few headaches for opposition so far this season. So what's the key to stopping them and nullifying their influence?
I mentioned it briefly before. Like I think just the winning the midfield type battle is going to be really important for the game for both teams. Both sides are scoring really well and have threats to score. And our start last week against Sydney was exceptional, and their start against Carlton, although they didn't take the most of their opportunities, they still look like a scoring threat. So it's just if the ball's bouncing from one end to the other freely, it'll be a really tough up and down game. But it'll be around trying to control the game, the tempo from the start there, to try and deny their opportunities for one, but also we've put in place some defensive measures to try and combat their tools and respectfully their smalls as well. But yeah, I think the midfield battle is one to watch going forward to see how it all pans out going left to right of screen. Yeah.